Good morning and welcome to the Talk of the Town. My guest this morning is former chairperson of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, good governance activist Mr. Chandra Jayaratne. Good morning and welcome to the show, Mr. Jayaratne.
Thank you.
Mr. Jayaratne, it's common knowledge that the microfinance sector is plagued by predatory practices, threats, soliciting bribes, sexual bribes, harassment, intimidation, extortive interest rates. Ultimately, it's the rural poor who has to bear the brunt. In this respect, the Microfinance and Credit Regulatory Authority Bill was placed on the order paper of Parliament. Already, there's been a petition filed before the Supreme Court challenging the bill. Speak to us about some of the more problematic provisions of this bill.
The problematic provisions of the bill are many, but the most important one is that to me, it doesn't really address the issues of the microfinance sector and the people who suffer as a result. The poor and the vulnerable, especially the segment of ladies who are generally targeted for microfinance, are not in a position to understand the real interest rates, real terms and conditions, and above all, they are not supported in the process of growing with the money to grow their business, to grow themselves, or even to use that money to buy something which they can afford to pay back. The ability to assess. Now the bill says you have to do and sell only to people who can pay. You can't sell it to a person who's a minor. Why do you say not to sell to a minor? Person who doesn't understand. Minor is not the person that is material here. It is the vulnerable segment who do not understand what is embedded in it, the intricacies of payment, what happens if you can't pay, what do you lose, and then once you get into that state of not being able to pay, you must also explain to them what can happen to them, and at that point that we must have a structure to look after them. A cooperative structure, the structures that microfinance was first introduced in other countries and found to be very successful. We are looking at the microfinance as a means of growth without providing the real structure that is necessary. So I would plead that the government establishes a structure that will allow microfinance to support the people who want, rather than trying to control the businesses who are asked to go and distribute money, give the money to people who can use, give them the tools to use that money, give them the ways and means of marketing their product, help them with the technology, help them with their money management. And that, I think, is the answer. To do this at a rural level, maybe at local government level or some other measure, rather than a central authority trying to manage this issue from Colombo.
Ultimately, it's the poor, the vulnerable and the marginalized groups in our society that will be negatively impacted by short-sighted or arbitrary laws. My question is, why aren't we taught financial management, financial literacy in schools? Is it to keep us subservient, to keep us unaware?
I don't think it is that intent. It is because I think it's not in our majority of our people. It's not in our culture, and I suppose it's in our genes that we are not really money managers. But there are some segments of our society, some who are very good at this. I mean, they have succeeded with this by naturally. They have a natural talent to manage the money, use credit, to use resources, to expand their resources. So I think in the absence of that kind of ability with all, it is best that the structures are established first and then we go into introduce bills.
All right. Former Chairperson, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Chandra Jayaratne, thank you, and it's back to the studio.